I'm Dr. Jan Bedell, and I have a question for you. What if I were to tell you that there's more to dyslexia than just phonetic awareness? What if there's other root causes that we need to look at, that we need to address? I really think that we have got to broaden our horizons. We've got to think differently about this whole topic of dyslexia. I'm Dr. Jan Bedell, and I'm a neurodevelopmentalist. I've been doing this work for over 30 years and working with individuals all during that time with dyslexia, reducing their dyslexic symptoms to the point where they don't even seem dyslexic. I know that sounds too good to be true, but it really is the fact. When we get to the root cause, we can make a huge difference. So on these Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Central Time, I'm going to give you a nugget about learning challenges. I'm going to open it for you to ask questions. We can have a chat back and forth. And then what I'm going to do is link these lives to something longer. So those of you that want a little more information can really delve into the topic. And we're going to I've been kind of on a dyslexia tick recently because I just see so many things about dyslexia, and they're, in my mind, myths. People believe these certain things about dyslexia, and it's just not been my experience. What I've seen is professionals do their testing, they see these certain symptoms, they give them the label, nothing's different is done for the individual, and then they just keep having those same symptoms. So in my field, what we do is we see the symptoms, we look for all the root causes, and then we actually give a plan of activities to change the brain so there's new pathways to take care of those inefficiencies that are going on. And we see a whole different topic. We see a whole different story happening. So, um, I'm going to go in depth on dominance today. We're going to talk about dominance a little bit, and I know different people have different concepts of dominance. Everybody pretty much knows about hand dominance because you are familiar with that from a very young age. Which hand do you use to write with? Which hand do you use to do most of your manual things if you were just to use one hand? And that is hand dominance. But there's other dominances. There's eye dominance, there's ear dominance, and there's even foot dominance that we need to take into consideration. Now, when we look at the symptoms of dyslexia, and we see one of the symptoms is oftentimes reversals. So the child just writes the number backwards or reads the word backwards or something like that. Uh, that comes from, we believe, a storage of information in the wrong hemisphere of the brain. So you've got the two hemispheres of the brain, then you've got right in the middle a bridge called the corpus callosum. And information is supposed to flow from one side to the other, but they have totally different jobs. So the dominant hemisphere is where your language, your analytical thought, and your logic is. And that's where you want to store your information. So if you're right handed, your dominant hemisphere is going to be on the left side. If you're left handed, your dominant hemisphere is on the right. So it's crossed. This part of your brain controls this side of your body, this side of your brain controls the other side of your body. So if you have a mixed dominant eye, in other words, you're right handed, but you're using your left eye, you would be putting your information over here. You see with both eyes, but the brain decides where to put that information for long-term storage based on a dominant eye. So we're putting the information over here, and then when they go to write it down, they're looking for it here, And for it to get there, for them to write it down, it often flips over from one side to the other. It just reverses. So that's a pretty easy fix. I'm going to give you a quick something to do about it here and then go into more depth in our longer version of dominance. So, one thing that you can do to test your child and find out what eye they're using as their dominant eye is get a little kaleidoscope, something with a really small hole, and just put it right in front of them on the table and say, now I want you to pick that up and then put it to your eye. So they're either going to go like this or they're going to go like this. So you make a note of that. Did they go to the right eye or the left eye uh, when they're looking in that little kaleidoscope hole? And that is their dominant eye at near point. Now, at far point, a lot of people know about far point because they may shoot a rifle or something that causes them to need to know which to sight with one eye. So oftentimes when you're doing a rifle, you sight and you close one eye to be looking with the other eye. So that would be the far away dominance that they have. And I'll give you another clue about that in the next video as well. So I just want to encourage you. You have got to look deeper into this dyslexia topic than the surface level of phonetic awareness and the 2-year program that's typically presented for that as the therapy. You've got to look at the eyes. You've got to look um, at the eye issues, are they tracking right? I did a video on that. You have to look at their dominance, which we're gonna talk more about here. Oftentimes, they're not very coordinated or they have, balance issues. We've talked about several of these already, and you can go back and look at those, videos to review that. But all of that has to do with how well they can read. So if dyslexia is basically typical intelligence, you got a smart kiddo, but they just are having trouble reading, we have to look past just that one little piece of phonetic awareness. It may be that as well, or it may be that is the only thing. And then they would thrive in that environment of the Barton or the Orton Gillingham or all of those approaches. But if these other things are an issue, they're only going to have a small amount of progress and continue to struggle. So just broaden your thinking and join me on this journey to delve into each one of these aspects and let's find some answers for your child. I just like for you to remember to subscribe. You'll be notified about more of the videos. You'll have a better chance of seeing more of them. And of course, like the video if we're giving you good content. And I just want you to share this as well because oftentimes there's people struggling with this that you don't even know that they are, and they will thank you for this kind of information. Hope to see you next Wednesday. We'll answer your questions on the Brain Coach Tips live on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. See you there.